We were doing some things wrong back then. I hope we get a handle on it. In any case, good afternoon to you, and thanks for coming in and be willing to talk to me about some of your concerns. What's up?
Thanks for having me, Wendell. I really appreciate every time you invite, and hopefully our conversation is a positive contribution to our lifestyle and our way of life on St. Martin.
You know, a lot has been happening, some of which are not talked about. And I believe that sometimes, although it may not be pretty, I know you are one of those who believe in, let's be positive. I believe in seeing a glass half full. But whether it's half full or half empty, it's not full. And I don't think anything is going to be ever perfect in our world, but a lot is dependent on us and how much we encourage it or make it happen. Now, we've been having some issues with security on our island, some of the things that are happening. Lots of stealing and robbing, and someone was telling me about a lady who was standing in town with her purse and probably just rested at her foot. Someone just ripped it and ran away with it. How can we find a way to at least encourage our people to be different, even though they might be already spoiled?
Look, I'm no expert on this. I have my own ideas. St. Martin has grown tremendously from the early 50s, mid-50s, when I moved here with my parents.
Yeah.
And the growth was so rapid that some things were not properly contained, some things were not properly organized. But that growth also is what made St. Martin what it is what made St. Martin different than so many islands, so many other islands, certainly in the Netherlands Antilles then, and definitely in the Caribbean. St. Martin became the breadbasket for the Caribbean. Everybody came to St. Martin because of the visionary approach that the then political leaders, Claude Wathy and Clem Labega, took on how to develop their little island. We all know the story about the Netherlands Antilles and how, excuse me, and how St. Martin and the other islands felt that they were being left back behind Curacao, the big island.
Yeah.
Aruba got upset, they disappeared, they left, and the other islands suffered the same way. So we all had our complaints about how things were. At the same time, Claude Watty, Clem Labega, and those folks that at the time, they didn't stop and just complain. They did something. They opened up the island. They allowed people to come in because they realized that with people, with knowledge, with experience,
and
skills, the island could grow. And so done. They decided that tourism was the thing to do, and went after it 100%. And that's what you call vision. I call for that in my ad today again. We need vision to move St. Martin to the next level. One of the things that happened at the time was people came in from all over the place. We didn't have enough people to control immigration, control this, control that. But there was plenty of work that was starting up on St. Martin. Construction was going on. People, carpenters and masons and people who could work with their hands were coming in from all the British islands and all over the place. And we said, welcome, come, because we need to build this island because we have things going on. What happened, though, was we also got people from countries where they didn't have a skill necessarily, but they were looking for a way to make a living. So they came. And so they did the menial jobs. They did the gardening and the menial jobs, as I said. They got children on St. Martin, but they weren't legal. The folks, the old folk, the parents. The children were born, couldn't be registered because the parents weren't legal. So the kids grew up here, had a tough time getting an education. There were some good souls who started up what they call the illegal schools. Mrs. Elshot is one of them. They had a school where they recognized the fact that every child is entitled to an education. And if you don't educate the child, you can have a problem down the line.
Yeah.
I was part of the Hotel Association in the early 80s and before that when I was working at Mullard Bay and stuff. And we talked about all of that. We said, if we do not give every child an opportunity to get an education, you're going to end up with illiterate people. You're going to end up with people with no education and who have no future. On top of that, if the children didn't have a way to prove where they were from, identification, an ID card, or this or that, being legal on the island or not being legal on the island, they ended up with situations where they couldn't get a job because now the rules were starting to be applied more and more stringent and stuff like that. But some of these kids grew up and they're now in their 20s, they're in their late teens and their 20s, some even in their early 30s by now. Times have changed. So they need to make a living too because they have to eat like everyone else. And if there's no job available because they're illegal or there's no job available because they're not properly educated, they're going to do something else. And we said at the time, in the early 80s for sure, we said as a hotel association, either pay for it now. In other words, let's set up an education system, let's set up schools and stuff to educate those children also, or pay for it later. And we're paying for it later now by having kids doing all kinds of stuff, robbing this, that, pulling chains, pulling bags, the stuff in grand cars that we're talking about and stuff like that. And now, what now? What do we do now?
But you think we can play a role?
Yes.
And I'm asking
we as collectively as
yes.
a community, for
but
sure.
What about us who sit behind a microphone and prepare things that you'll have people listen, and who rather listen to gossip rather than anything that is educational?
Listen, anybody who has an opportunity and the ability to reach the masses, like me with my radio ads. I've been doing radio ads on this radio station since 1984. I started my first radio ad in 1984. I never stopped. Every single day. People like you with radio programs. People like Fernando Clark with radio programs. People like Billy D. People like Francois Couchy. Everybody who has the ability to reach masses. We have an obligation to be as positive as we can. Sure, point out the things where we see that need improvement, but you have an obligation to help raise the level of this island to new heights, and by just pounding on people and being negative and saying something, in other words, talking the talk but not walking the walk, you're not helping the community.
Let me just bring something to your attention because this happened just recently. I had the privilege, I was invited by Earl Gibbs to be on his television talk show. He asked me a question in relation to the amount of talk shows that we have and whether they are really serving the public or whether we should even continue, because the idea of social media came into the picture. And I said to him, I think I mentioned first that we are oversaturated, and I said, let me rephrase that and say, I believe that we have enough, but I don't know the agendas of those people who are starting this talk show, because the whole issue came up about this one that has been for decades running at 12 o'clock. And then all of a sudden there is two more that is running at 12 o'clock. So the whole issue is, what's the agenda? And my answer to him was, I don't know what the agendas are, but some people seem to use it as their bully pulpit, or to really, advance their own cause. So how can we educate people when we have a different message? Well,
Yeah.
Certainly, I won't subscribe to it. Not here.
Well, look,
Or else I don't want to be a part of it.
to talk about the different programs and to put it at the same time as People's Voice. Everybody knows People's Voice has been on forever. Um, that may be just an issue of to show who's more popular than the next one. About a popularity contest.
Then the objective is very different.
It's not about exactly trying to improve the situation on the island, but it's about who has a louder voice, who can make more noise, and who is more popular. I mean, that may be it. I don't know. I'm just saying that could be one of the reasons. It would be probably more productive if we had numerous talk shows that were all with the same intention of elevating our people to the next level, and then have them at different times. Have a morning talk show, have a midday talk show, have an evening talk show, so people can choose. It's like the Rotary clubs. You got the Rotary Club for the morning, one for lunch. You got the Rotary Club for the evening. You can go to the friend side. So you have choices as a Rotarian where you want to go. But if all the Rotary clubs had their meetings at the same time, as a Rotarian, you could never visit another club because you always have to be there at yours. Again, what is the intention of the different radio programs? I leave that up to those that have the radio programs. Some are obviously, I think, about elevating, about bringing the message. I know I've called you several times where when I hear you say something that I don't particularly agree with or I agree with, I will call you and then say, Wendell, you had your program so and so. Maybe next time consider this. And you've always been very positive about those kind of calls. You've never taken it as an insult. You've never taken it as who are you to tell me what to do? I think the right thing to do when you have a controversial situation or you want to talk about something, about a topic, the right thing to do is to have someone of the audience, of someone from the public who is pro your ideas and somebody who is maybe against your ideas. And then let the two people kind of battle it out in a elevated way.
Present their case.
Present their
Battling
case.
it out really is an aggressive way.
But present their case.
Yes,
and then let the audience and the public judge whose side they want to be on. But you cannot be like on a program, like certain programs we have right now, especially there's a particular night program where you constantly you bash, you mash up, and nobody to counter it. So that's the message that went out. And yes, there are people who are going to believe you because that's all they're hearing or that's all they're listening to. It's right now, for instance, let's take the United States of America. We got the Trump people and you got the anti-Trump people, the people who are the Democrats, the liberals, whatever you want to call them. So you have people who only look at Fox News, and you have other people who only look at CNBC or CNN. And if you keep hearing
the same thing,
that side only, that's what you're going to be probably feeling yourself. And at some point in time, you say, "Oh, Mr. Trump ain't a bad guy. He ain't a bad guy." But in Mike Ferrier's opinion, the president of the United States today has changed the world. Has changed the world in the way how we treat one another, because if the president can insult people, I can insult you too.
So the essence of your point then, you're saying
you can have a bully pulpit,
yes,
or you can have a medium that helps elevate life, elevate the way we deal with each other to another level. How we want to use it is up to you.
But a lot of that, Mr. Ferrier, has a lot to do with the mindset and how people, what they think is their contribution or their role that they should play in the community. If it's different, what else would you get? Now,
Possibly. I know that people are going to politics because they are very, in their previous life, they are very, what's the word, very.
They have a pedigree of being politicians. They
No,
come
no,
out of
no,
a
no,
family?
no. I'm trying to think of they're very good at what they do as a DJ.
Okay.
So they get a following,
Oh.
and they think they're very,
That would
they're up
serve
there.
them well for politics.
And so they think the same thing will happen in politics.
Yeah.
So at some point in time, they feel that, hey, I can say anything I want on the radio station because I was a good DJ. Now I can do the same thing, and I'm going to go fight in there and this and do it. And in the same time, what you do is you tear down, you break down, and you cut down the very people that supposedly you're gone there to protect.
Yeah.
I hear people talk about we gotta build up our own. We gotta push and support our own. And then the question comes: who is our own? Somebody who born here, somebody who lived here for 10 years, somebody who lived here for 20 years, somebody whose great grandparents are from here. Who is from here? I have a situation sometimes where, I've been here since 1956. Okay? I was 6 years old when I came here. So I'm here longer than most people that attack me today. Because they were born in the 80s or in the late 70s or, stuff like that. So, but they are going to tell me, you ain't from here. You're Suriname. Or this time now I was born in Aruba. But because my parents are from Suriname, they call me a Surinamer because it suits their purpose at the time. So what we're going to do, we're going to tear down Mikey Ferrier because he this, he that, he the other. But 2 days before, he on the radio station saying all the things about we got to support each other. We got to lift up our locals. Well, when do I become local? You understand? So what the intention is up to the individuals. I feel very strongly that if you have nothing nice to say about people, say nothing at all. And if you want to be critical, come with facts and show the facts.
But in the same breath, Mr. Ferrier, Michael, you are expressing your views, but we all fall short somewhere. You are no angel,
for sure,
and I'm sure that you would defend that. But at least if we have,
I wouldn't defend that. If you can tell me that if we having a discussion. And you can convince me that your side of the discussion is a better side than mine,
you will accept.
9 out of 10 times I will accept because I recognize the intelligence, I recognize the work that you've done in researching what you're talking about, and I realize it's not just to cut me down, but just to show me that what I was saying was not correct. In other words, believe in science, believe in the proof that you bring.
Yeah. But you can't take out of the picture, Mike, you can't take out of the picture people who have a personal agenda and they use their advantage primarily for that. So in that case, you're going to get the exact results of the ingredients that is put into what's going on here. You made mention about a certain night program. I know just where you're coming from. By the way, at one point, I was thinking why you are so committed to supporting a program like this. I guess I can't speak for you, but overall, I know that if we were defeating the good purpose of having a program such as this, we probably would lose all our advertisers.
I've called you up on that, me. I know that I've told, at least one occasion I said, Wendell, if that's the way you're going to go about your program, that's your choice. But I'm going to have to bow out as an advertiser because I cannot be part of that. That was one time when you and I had a difference of opinion about something, whatever it was. I can't even remember what it was. But yes, if I feel that,
You've done it before?
What?
Pull your ads from radio stations.
I've pulled my ad from one radio station.
Which one was that?
Well, no, I don't know. That's not necessary to mention.
All right, I just asked.
I pull it from out of what's the word? Principle. Out of principle. And I'll tell you what. There's a radio station that just like PGD2 and 102.7, I support year after year, daily, every month you get a check. I pay my bill, all of that. And um, when I was going to run for politics in 2014, um, my company, we decided amongst the management that we were going to use the advertising time on all the radio stations for candidate Mike Ferrier. And we advised everybody in advance and said, this is what we'd like to do. So from now on, the company has said that the time that you have is to be used for candidate Ferrier, whatever he wants to put
Yeah.
on.
And that's your company donating to your company.
Exactly. And registered
Okay.
as such at the electoral council, everything, it's done according to the rules. Every radio station, and we run 6 radio stations every day. Every radio station, except one, said no problem, including a newspaper. No problem. One radio station said no. A Napa ad, is not a political thing, and political ads, they're more expensive, so no, you have to pay different. You got to pay more. And I said, no, okay, leave it alone. If you can't do it, don't do it. They didn't do it. And at the end of the story, after the election, I said, no, I who have been with you from day one, who have been advertising with you from day one, every single month you're there, you get paid and everything else, I don't want to be part of you no more. If you can't support me, then I can't support you. And that's where we left it.
All right. I want to ask you, because there has been circulation on social media um, uh, about a particular person who you have a running with, and it seems to be unclear as to who says what. But I want to take a break first, because it's time for me to take a break. I got to get my commercials in. If I don't, I'll be in serious trouble. I just got to get the attention of my technical director. Okay, all right. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue to speak with Mr. Mike Ferrier. Mike Ferrier is here with me on Viewpoint. For those of you who have been with us, we've been talking lots about looking back at where we come from and what we can do to improve. But I believe that he's placing a lot of responsibilities on people like myself, who sit behind a microphone and have a huge responsibility to make sure that what I say is not only factual, but also informative and educational.
And balanced.
And balanced.
It's got to be
Fair
balanced.
enough. I think the last time you and I had that difference, I had to acknowledge that sometimes when I'm so passionate about something, I get carried away to the point where I throw everybody in the same basket. That was not right.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, we talked about how can you bring a balanced view so that
Because you personally felt that you didn't belong in that basket, but you were in it.
Yeah, because I think you were talking about something, a generalization of business.
I did generalize it. I did.
That business people were
And I take
basically
responsibility
doing the
for
wrong thing, and I had.
But our responsibility, I must admit, is really a serious one. But when someone have their own personal agenda, Mike, you can't get anything else other than what it is. And
But then people also listen. People are not stupid. People see through you. People understand. I think the folks behind the microphone, they think that everybody is gullible, but it isn't. That's not the case. Not only everybody behind a microphone, but also preachers. Pastors in churches. I mean, not everybody in the congregation is gullible. I mean, and we talk about pastors. There's something that really bothers me that is out there right now. A pastor of a church, and I love the church because it's the church where I go when I want to hear music, when I want to be uplifted and stuff. And the pastor, let me before I talk about the pastor, I talk also in my ad right now about respect. Everybody knows that I'm not a National Alliance in my political thinking. But I talk about respect for the members of parliament, the respect for the ministers that are there now. I talk about let's get 4 years of tranquility on St. Martin. Let's get 4 years of vision, and let's respect the position of the people that have been elected to office. Whoever they are. In my ad, I talk about you may like some people, you may like all of them, or you like none of them. Okay? But the fact is, they are the ones that are there, and as long as they do their jobs the way they are expected to do their jobs,
Let's support
and
them.
they do it with education, no, not education, with respect. We need to respect their position. All right? And now all of a sudden we have a pastor who goes on a rant about homosexuals and puts up pictures of people that were elected by the people of this country and focuses on two persons, including our own prime minister. I have a problem with that. I mean, I have a problem with the whole concept because, okay, I'm not a very well-read person. There's two things I say I'm going to change in my next life if I come back. One is to learn how to play piano, and second one is to read more. I don't read enough. So I don't have the depth that I would like to have where I'm at in my life right now to talk about things from knowledge. But when you talk about homosexuality, according to me, and like I say, I can't quote the Bible and stuff because I'm not that good at that. But people don't get up in the morning and say, today I'm going to become a homosexual. At least not in my, maybe there are some that do that, I don't know. But I think that those that are homosexual are created that way. And supposedly God likes everybody that he created, right? So how can you demonize and disrespect people? If you want to say, we shouldn't, or whatever, or it's not natural, or whatever you want to call it, because you're a confirmed heterosexual, that's one thing. But I really, I'm disappointed that this clip is out there disrespecting a member of parliament and disrespecting our prime minister and basically disrespecting people on the whole.
But people behind the microphone and who are on these type of forum do criticize those people in government too as well. Most of them are all engaged in whether you don't like them or not.
Engaged
you
in
come
what
down.
though?
Well, maybe some people feel the best way for them to look good is to destroy someone else.
Oh, if that tell me that. Tell me that you don't agree with a person from a political point of view and you want to attack the political view. That's not a problem. But don't go and try to make people look bad based on who they are. If you look in the United States right now, you got Mayor Pete, who's married, a married gay person, married to a man, and he's running for president because you know what? They've learned to open and widen and broaden their scope of how you think about another human being. That's a human being you're talking about.
So that's the respect
That I'm talking about.
you're talking of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But we find it so easy to disrespect the office of well,
I don't think people disrespect the office. I think a lot of times people disrespect the person who holds that office, and by extension then ends up disrespecting the office. Mm-hmm. But you need to remember the office that person holds, and somebody will always be an MP and always will be the prime minister to me. The fact that that's not my party, the fact that you do things politically that I don't agree with or that I can't agree with, that's a separate thing.
Yeah.
But that's my difference of opinion in what you do and how you do. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to disrespect the office, then people are going to disrespect you.
I want you to speak to the situation where you had a run-in with one of the talk show hosts on the island, and you published on social media the exchange,
I
And
didn't.
the
I didn't.
respect,
Somebody else did, and
but
somebody else. Yeah.
it was misconstrued to mean that you were cursing a lot of.
Yeah, but that's not true, and that's what that's the part that I put in. I indeed. There was a piece that was written by some tourists who were accosted or felt threatened on the French side in Grand Cars, and I sent that to the gentleman at the radio station, and I said, instead of trying to run the Dutch side from the French side, talk about this issue, the issue of young people accosting tourists, because I tell you what, all of us are dependent on these tourists. If we like them, we don't like them. The day the tourists are no longer here, all of us in trouble. So we all have a responsibility to do the right thing when it comes to each other, but definitely when it comes to what we do regarding the tourists that come to this island. And the gentleman, based on what I said, and I can show it to you because I have it here in my WhatsApp, said, use the profanity full out. F you, F you. And another one, don't effing disrespect me, boy. And I wrote back, that is easy, the disrespecting you. It's easy. He come back and he said, F you, written out. And I said again, you see how easy it is for me to disrespect you, in other words? He come back again, F you. So
you didn't say
I
F you at all.
have not one time did I use any obscenities, and again I have it as a WhatsApp. It's there, and anybody can see it. Now, if the gentleman wants to bring himself down to that level, that's up to him. But I'm not going down in the gutter with him. I'm not doing it. I just think that it is sad that somebody who has a microphone available to him 24/7 can get to that level, because he's not doing any favors to any one of us. He's not doing any favors to himself. But this program, I agreed to come on your program not to talk about him. I haven't called his name either, and I won't, because he's not that important to me. What is important is that I believe that as people who are able to reach masses in any form or fashion, it could be a pastor, it could be someone like myself who makes ads every day on the radio, or it could be somebody like you who has a radio program, or it could be somebody like Earl Gibbs who has a TV program. We have a
moral responsibility.
A responsibility,
Yes.
to do the right thing and to elevate what we have on St. Martin, and not to break it down.
Yeah, but and if we are not doing it
for the wrong reasons.
how would you? If we are not doing it, how would you categorize such a use of the opportunity?
It's a waste. I categorize it as a waste of an opportunity.
But you think it's important though, because
It's
yes,
very important to
we
have
are reaching.
talk shows and to have
Yeah.
people give their opinions and stuff like that. But as I said, let's try to raise the bar. Let's try to bring in any one of us that say we know it all is wrong. Okay, let me put it simple. Bring in somebody on one side of the issue and on the other side of the issue, and then be a good moderator. Research the part that you want to talk about, and then let the two parties discuss and defend their position, and then let the audience make up their mind on which side they're going to drop their support.
Well, the whole point about which side the audience goes on should be seen as in principle, there are three sides to every story. Your
Yours,
side,
mine, and
my
the
side,
truth.
and the truth.
Right.
Now, what the audience would have as an advantage listening to both sides is to be able to come to a conclusion what they believe to be
The truth. Exactly. But
which could be a little bit of this and a little bit of
But
that. Because when you're telling your story as well, you often will do that in your favor most people when they are expressing themselves, unless you're going to put yourself in a position where you acknowledge that you have made an error somewhere, that would be the most respectable position to have, because you realize, like you've just said, that everyone is not. But
Not
something
everybody.
else, something else I wanted to mention. When you talk about, it slipped from me just for a moment, but I think I'll remember it. But it was an important point. Oh yeah, I wanted to defend the fact that sometimes when you try best you could to get people from both sides of the coin to come in and just give their story, as a moderator, you will try to bring balance and to bring, the fairness in both sides, because you might have a reason, a motive why you do what you do, and likewise over here, but it doesn't make it right, or does it make it wrong either.
No, for sure.
But people don't want to make themselves available.
Well,
you,
because,
in a case like this, willing to come and...
But I'll tell you why, okay? Because people don't like to be criticized. People don't like why is it, for instance, that when we talk about people that go on political lists, oh, look at this, look what we got to choose from again. But the fellow who's saying, look what we got to choose from again, himself ain't going, because he don't want nobody to dig up dirt. He don't want nobody to go check and talk about him and stuff. So he stays on the side and he throws rocks, but stays on the side. We have to get to a level as a people where we respect one another in such a fashion that a person who is educated, who has something to give, is not afraid to come out and give. Okay? But he ain't coming out. And I always go back to Carnival. I was president of the Carnival Foundation. And people used to say, oh, the Carnival always starting late. And then when I look at the thing, because a promoter brings in somebody who he got to pay $35,000 and $40,000 or $25,000 for the night, the promoter ain't going to start until the Carnival Village is full. Because that way he show that he'll be able to pay for the artist, and he'll be able to make some money. But we can say the show starting at 9 o'clock. People in St. Martin will say, but 9 o'clock, I ain't going to place 9 o'clock. I only then is when I finish eating, I'm going to, whatever. I go in village 10:30, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, because the show going to start late. Well, guess what? When he gets the 11:30 and 12 o'clock, everybody else coming in around that time, the promoter then starts his show. So then they say, you see, today we're going to start late. Well, it starts late because you come late. You understand? So which comes first? Do we start to treat politicians with the respect that they're supposed to have and not attack them for foolishness, and then allow other people to then say, hey, it's a noble thing. Let me go in politics too.
If you don't respect yourself, how can you respect others?
Well, yeah, that was a different thing. Again, that's another one. But I talk about respect. It is another thing that I think that needs to be mentioned really quickly. I know you're getting close to your 1 o'clock.
Yeah,
is the fact that we pride ourselves to talk about how many cultures we have on St. Martin. How everybody come to St. Martin. That's what made St. Martin what it is. We have over 85 or however many, how many nationalities on this island. We pride ourselves. But we are quick to start pointing fingers. Look at that Chinese, look at that Indian, look at that Jamaican, look at that. And we talk about everybody in a derogatory way instead of building them up. Okay? Why is it that every Indian supposedly is bad, but at the same time you're going by the same Indian to beg? Or you're going by the same Indian to look for a donation.
Mikey, let me take a quick call here for you.
We can't have both ways.
All right. Yes, caller, go ahead. We don't have a lot of time. Be quick, please. Yes, caller, go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. I'd like to commend Michael for his current ad on PJD2. They are really short and sweet. Finish with that.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
No, I think if anybody is going to be honest with themselves, it is something that a lot of people look forward to. When it's no good, it's no good too, because you've had an ad that really didn't do anything.
Well, Look, like I said, we have our good days, our bad days, and some things are good, and not everything is going to be good. Some things are going to be bad.
But you yourself may have said, I'm not going to leave that up for too long because you probably would.
Whatever, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I want you to admit it.
I have. I've said it. I've said if something doesn't sound good or something doesn't have a good.
But you have done some that you were not happy with?
Me?
Yeah. That's some of your ads.
I think some have been like what they call duds, where they really didn't have the impact that I thought they were going to have, but were they bad? In my opinion, probably not.
But you also see it as a contribution. I'm using up the time, so I'm cutting you off every now and again. So I hope you don't mind. You use it also as a positive tool, as well.
Well, I try my best to have in my ads a story. There's got to be a storyline, and I have 60 seconds to bring a storyline. And in that storyline, I got to make sure that I advertise the products and my business. But 2, I always try to put in a story about something that is going on in the island if I can.
Funny?
Oh, I love to be funny because I like to laugh myself. I think we need to laugh every single day. But I believe that sometimes there are things that are very serious. Right after the hurricane, I had one that was very serious, but it was a very serious message.
Yeah.
Now this one is on. I hope, and the lady just called in, I really thank her for that. I have a lot of people that call and say, hey, that was a positive message. Like I said, the politicians that are in charge today of St. Martin are not my party, are not the people that I follow, that I have supported. But I think as an island, it behooves all of us to support the people that are there as long as they do the thing the right way and they really try their best to make St. Martin a better place.
A quick question. Why did you come out? I've never heard you endorse a party ever. You did it this time.
Well, I was a Democratic Party.
Yeah, but
myself.
if you're a Democrat, you're a Democrat.
Right, and I said, and this time I'll die a Democrat probably, but the Democratic Party was not part of the election. In this particular case, I see 8 people on a list that all have at least a bachelor's degree, and some of them have master's and bachelor's degrees. All come from good families, meaning were not jucked up, but were raised up, and they all are people who have something to give back to St. Martin. And maybe, just maybe, in my opinion, we need to give that type of young person an opportunity to take St. Martin to the next level.
Do you have any contact with them so you could offer advice?
No, I don't have contact per se. They have a very strong advisor, the father of the leader of the party.
You know him.
Okay,
yeah.
But I told them, I said, if they want my opinion on something, feel free to call. And they have called me about my opinion, not to say, what do you think we should do? No.
I respect you this much to ask you to give me an advice. What kind of advice do you have for me?
For you?
Yeah.
As I say, bring a balanced story. Research the topic you want to talk about, and don't go along to get along. Be specific. We have people who call into programs like this, and one may say, well, this table is white. And this table is white. The next one calls the table is black. Well, yeah, the table is black, but true. It's either white or it's black. It can be both.
But, at the same time, there are a lot of time, Mike, that some things is just thrown on you. You could imagine that I have a scheduled appointment with you, and you are unable to show up. I have to make use of the time.
No, I understand.
That usually would open up a lot of.
But when people call in,
discussion.
and you know who call in, there's some people that call in
regularly,
all the time to do one thing, to bash somebody or some party or some political opponent. And that kind of stuff, I think you need to slow down. I would say, I understand where you're coming from. You have freedom of, how you call it?
You're free.
You can speech. How you call it? Freedom of speech.
Yeah.
But this is not meant for you to use this program to only bash these people, because all of it that they say is not wrong.
All right, we got to wrap it up. We're out of time. It's always a pleasure. You seem to be very candid when it comes to these type of discussions, and that I cherish a lot, because you don't want people to be camouflaging, and just be yourself.
Be yourself. That's the important thing.
Tell it the way it is. I appreciate the fact that you came in and talked to me.
Okay, sir.
Would you come?
Thank you for having me. For sure.
No problem. That's going to be it for today, folks. For those of you watching, thank you so much for having watched. Hopefully you stayed with us throughout. And for those listening, we'll be back again tomorrow doing this all over again at 12. Please come and join me, and we'll see you then. Goodbye.